What's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the FCS Dynasty here on NCAA 06, featuring that NCAA Next mod, as well as we got a good episode on tap. We are going to kick off week number 9 action here, man, so it's going to be a good one. Make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button if you have to be brand new to the channel, and we will go ahead and start out in the FCS version of the Pac-12. We come out to North Dakota State, and those Bison are coming in ranked number 12, just coming off of a shocking loss against Montana State. They're going to be taking on this Montana Grizzlies team who is really desperate for a win right now if they want to keep up in that FCS playoff race. But right now, not a great start for the Montana Grizzlies, as their quarterback, Josh Purcell, he's going to take it out into the open, is going to get a massive gain to start this out. And now a red zone opportunity for North Dakota State, where Ken Anderson, he's going to be by himself, isn't even needed though, as Purcell is going to run it into the end zone all by himself. And that is going to be a touchdown for North Dakota State and the number 12 team in the land. They are going to take a 7-0 lead early. Now, Montana, they did not get any points on their initial opening possession, but Anderson trying to make it a 2-score gain as he gets chopped down from behind at the very last second. That could have easily been taken to the crib for 7 points. Very fortunate that was not the case, but now we see the Bison in Montana territory, as we'll see Anderson run it down the left-hand side, gets cut down yet again, but Anderson will get it across the 15-yard line, and it's another first down. And you can see this North Dakota State offensive line winning pretty handily in the trenches. And speaking of that trench work, that's that Bison offensive line just demolishing Montana's front seven right now, as Ken Anderson is going to get a really easy run into the end zone, and it's going to be a touchdown for North Dakota State. And you can see the disparity in offense right now, 144 to just 45 yards for Montana right now. We'll see if Skinner can change anything about it, but we do got a fumble on the field, as Brandon Wilkerson, he is going to absolutely plow through the true freshman Jamison Skinner. In North Dakota State, they fall on that fumble. They take over in really good field positioning, but we got another fumble on the field, and this time it's going to be recovered by the Montana secondary. So the Grizzlies, they do manage to hold up here, but they will be deep in their own territory. Starting out inside the 10-yard line, Skinner's got to get out of there. Skinner dropping back the pass, tries to go with the quarterback draw, but is going to be hit behind the line of scrimmage. And eventually it's going to lead to a 3rd and long from the 7-yard line, as Skinner takes a sack in the end zone. And we are going to get ourselves a rare safety here, as Skinner firmly inbounds. They will give the points to North Dakota State. And the Bison, they are going to be up 19-0 at the half. And that second half was just not getting that much better, as Purcell, he's not a very athletic quarterback, but he is someone that is able to make good decisions. Does get caught from behind, of course, but still a really good gain. Gets it to about midfield, as Purcell going to take it on the option once again. Gets it out to Anderson down the sideline and gets chopped down. But another run for Anderson. He's well over 100 yards right now. I think I saw 141 for him. He's been having a very excellent day. But then Purcell going to get a little bit involved in the passing game and finds the wide receiver, junior custom, LaRon Montez, a custom guy back from season number 1. That's when he, stepped onto the scene. But yeah, just one of those days where Montana cannot do anything right today, and you can't even completely blame it on Jamison Skinner. Skinner has had a very difficult season so far. surprised they didn't try to get it out to Mario Matthews, the #1 recruit in the country. So another position yet again for the Bison and North Dakota State. They are going to punch it into the end zone once again, and that gives them a 33-0 lead here late in the fourth quarter. Now, Montana, they will eventually find themselves into the end zone before this game is over, so it's not a shutout, but it's still a very impressive victory for North Dakota State, as they do end up winning this game by a final score of 33-7 in this one. Great win for the Bison. Nice job to bounce back and really prove at that game against the Montana State Bobcats that was a fluke. But we'll also go ahead and see if another top 25 team is a fluke, or are they serious contenders to make it to the FCS playoffs. We go into the opposite side of the country. We go all the way to the great state of Maine, and we check in the Maine Black Bears playing host to number 22 ranked South Carolina State, as both teams are coming out onto the field now. And South Carolina State, they're right kind of on that edge. If they got in as an at-large, they would probably be one of the last at-large teams to make it to the FCS playoffs. So a win here for the Bulldogs would be very crucial for their FCS playoff hopes. But first, they got to find a way to contain Flash Williams, but it's going to be intercepted, and Flash Williams not going to be off to a very good start here whatsoever, as that will end up getting picked off and intercepted. And Flash, he was just facing a ton of pressure trying to throw over the middle of the field, but it ends up being knocked away. So now South Carolina State can establish themselves early in this game. Just a 3-0 lead after one quarter. But then the Heisman hopeful Jason Shaw, he gets his hands on the football, and how about the work that he does? That was supposed to go to the right-hand side initially, cuts it back to the opposite direction, and it turns into a really good decision, as that's going to be a touchdown for South Carolina State. And the Bulldogs, they will get that 10-0 lead. We'll see if this offense can come alive even more off the back of Jason Shaw, as they go direct snap this time. Makes a man miss, makes a couple of more guys miss, and now he is going to be all by himself, wide butt naked open, and he's going to get his second rushing touchdown of the afternoon, making some boys feel absolutely silly, as Will Smith III was the final line of defense, cannot bring him down. And quickly, this game getting out of hand here, as Flash Williams tries to dump it off to the tailback, but Reggie Bush, one of the best linebackers in the FCS level. I would not be shocked if he made it to the NFL next season, but Flash Williams does get a really big play downfield, gets it out to his receiver, and we got a 1st and goal opportunity inside the 10-yard line now. That was just that South Carolina State defense playing a little bit too aggressive there, and you know, he had the interception, just missed, and it's going to cost a ton of yards because of it. But eventually it gets to a 4th down, and they're not going to settle for a field goal. They want a touchdown, throwing into the end zone, but it's going to be intercepted by Johnson down the sideline, and no one is going to catch him. He's going to high step his way in for a 102-yard interception return. How about changing the entire complexity of this game? You know, Maine, I thought they were going to find a way to get back into it, but now it could turn into a round 27-0 in favor of South Carolina State. They're certainly looking like a top 25 team, especially when Carlos McDougal is having himself a solid performance as well. Because now he's got his guys at about midfield, going to hand it off to Jason Shaw, who gets a big hole once again. Is anyone going to be able to catch him? Just barely, but Jason Shaw firmly over 100 yards on the ground, and that almost was his 3rd touchdown. The hat trick, he was so close to the hat trick. We'll see if they can reward him, and they do, as Jason Shaw is going to rumble and stumble his way into the end zone Touchdown, South Carolina State, and the Bulldogs making it 34-0. A huge lead here for South Carolina State as they continue to express their willpower on the South Carolina State Bulldogs. Another big time run there, almost with a 40 burger in this game already. Although that was a nice tackle by Terry Johnson to save the touchdown. He's one of your guys' customs as well. But that end result is going to be the same regardless, as yet another touchdown gets put up onto the board. Jason Shaw with his 4th touchdown as he does get player of the game. Huge win for the Bulldogs in this ball game. So with a couple of games out of the way now, let's take a look at some of the FCS scores in the early going. We start with number 9 New Hampshire trying to get back to the top 8 after a shocking loss to Delaware State, but they are continuing to struggle through ACC play in spite of what that record says. They only beat a 1-win NCAA squad 41-36. But unlike New Hampshire, Kent State playing with their food a little bit too much. They lose on the road to the Ball State Cardinals by a score of 29-24. This is Kent State's 2nd loss of the season. Ball State picking up a huge win. But we jump back into the afternoon slate as we check in on Ohio Valley Conference action, this new look Big Ten. We got Tennessee Martin, the Skyhawks. They have soared to number 18 in the entire country. They will play host to Eastern Illinois, which to this point, if Eastern Illinois wants to get back to the FCS playoffs, they need to win this conference. They need the automatic qualifying bid. And essentially what that means, you gotta win out. So we'll see if Eastern Illinois is up to the challenge. They gotta take it one game at a time. Can they slow down Donnie Jacobs? He's been having a pretty solid season so far. Coming in with 1,200 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, and just a few interceptions. Has been a pretty solid quarterback, even though the total offense for the Skyhawks have left more to be desired. We'll see if those offensive lows continue as Jacobs throws over to the right-hand side, throws it up into traffic, and still comes down with it anyways. How about that for a big-time play? As that is going to lead to a potential touchdown? Yes, it does. The Skyhawks are going to soar to a 7-0 lead. How about them apples for a nice little touchdown run right there? As though we do see the Skyhawks miss a field goal, so they don't get the extra point. It's still 6-0, as we will see a connection over to Chris Gentry, the true junior, able to come down and make the catch. As now trying to get it out, Donnie Jacobs, but that is going to be Brand Smith that's going to break that up in the backfield, coming out and laying down the lumber. And now it's going to be 3rd and long from the 32-yard line. They need 17 yards for the first down, and they're going to get it. How about that for a throw over the middle of the field? It's Chris Gentry once again coming down, making the catch. And it's going to be yet another red zone opportunity for the Skyhawks. They are 1 for 1 on chances so far. Can they make it 2 for 2? And they do. Touchdown, Skyhawks. And Donnie Jacobs early on in this one. He is looking absolutely incredible. Great start to this football game for Tennessee Martin. And now we'll see what Lombom's got in him. Does he have that dog to lead Eastern Illinois to victory? We're about to find that out now. As 1st and 10 from the 35-yard line. Going to be a play action. Got some time to work with, but the offensive line is ultimately going to crumble. So it's going to be a 6-yard loss instead. I mean, he had time initially, but then ran back towards the pressure. Not a good decision. And now behind the sticks, but then coming back and recovering. Michael Capps making the huge reception and helping out that quarterback, Corey LaBelle. And that will help propel this Eastern Illinois drive all the way down to the goal line. 3rd and goal from the 6. Gonna load it up real fast and find the junior custom, Ralph Rags. You want to talk about rags to riches? He's having himself a nice breakout season as well. And that does help Eastern Illinois get back into this game, only down by a field goal. But there's a ball on the ground, and it's going to be recovered by the Skyhawks of Tennessee Martin. Oh my, that is not what you're looking for if you're trying to erase an early lead. And now the Skyhawks with a chance to make this a 2-score game. Third and long though. Dropping back, Donnie looking to the right hand side, but it's intercepted right back down the sideline, and it's going to be returned right back to the crib as Anthony Sims gets his 4th career interception of his collegiate career. And that one he didn't look towards the end zone. He locked it in. And now Eastern Illinois, they got themselves the lead. 17-13 now being your score. And we'll see how Donnie Jacobs recovers, but it does not help when you're getting absolutely obliterated as Brad Smith gets his 2nd sack of the game. Not getting a lot of help there from his running back on pass protection. We'll see if the protection be a little bit better throughout the rest of this drive, but we get yet another sack going on. So that is going to make it 4th and long from the 12-yard line. And of course, that does mean Chris Harris is going to come out and punt. He does kicking and punting duties. Your guys is custom, by the way, a sophomore custom. Speaking of custom guys, though, how about the rags to riches story, Ralph Rags, who finds his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Panthers! And Eastern Illinois extends their lead. We got an upset alert on our hands, especially after that score that we just witnessed there. And that is going to be 31-13. That will be your score. And now, Donnie Jacobs desperately needs some big plays and needs to get this offense moving quickly if they have any chance of getting back into this football game. As that was a nice catch there by Chris Gentry, the Junior. And it eventually leads down into the red zone. Donnie looks over the middle of the field, floats it up, and trying to get it out to Chris Gentry once again. But great coverage on the back end, deflecting that pass away. And now it's 3rd and goal. The Skyhawks have struggled on 3rd down. They're 3 for 10 on the day today. Can they get a huge one here? Jacobs looking around, running out of time, and gets sacked from behind. And it's going to be a 4th down coming up. That was Donnie Jacobs just trying to make a play happen, but at some point you got to throw that pass away. And now you got to pick up 14 yards in one play. Can he get it? He does! Donnie Jacobs throws it on a rope. And they will end up deciding to go for the 2-point conversion. Now, that was a nice throw there that we ended up witnessing. And now, 2-point conversion. This is going to make it a 10-point game if he can recover. But instead, it's going to be intercepted by Russell Matthews. If he finds a way to take it back, that's 2 points. That's awarded for Eastern Illinois. But instead, Chris Gentry at least makes the tackle. But the 2-point conversion will ultimately be denied. And Eastern Illinois also gets his hands on the football. They could just run out the rest of his clock, but what's going to also help them out a little bit, they're going to try to get some style points here. And honestly, if Ralph Rags had some better footwork in that particular spot, that would have been another touchdown. But instead, not only do they not get that score, it stops the clock temporarily. That does help the Skyhawks, unless they cannot get this the saving touchdown, and they can't stop them. Touchdown, Eastern Illinois has Lobdell just having himself a clinic against the Skyhawks secondary. And I really truly believe that lady, she might be singing right now. 20 seconds left to play. I don't know how much more can happen. And yeah, that fat lady is officially singing now. Another turnover for the Skyhawks of Tennessee Martin. And this should do it here. Just a complete effort for Eastern Illinois. Season on the line. and they fought tooth and nail, pulling the upset, by the way, over the number 18 ranked team in the entire country. And those playoff hopes, while very faint, they are certainly not going to let that flame die, at least not right this second. Eastern Illinois gets their third win of the season. 3-4 now is going to be their record, whereas Tennessee Martin, this is just their second loss. They still have a lot to play for, but it will be very intriguing to see if they do end up remaining in the top 25 or not. But speaking of that Ohio Valley Conference, we got a top 20 matchup for you guys here. A critical mid-season matchup. The Redhawks of Southeast Missouri State, they go on the road after their loss last week to Tennessee Tech. They lost by multiple touchdowns. They will be taking on an Eastern Kentucky squad who absolutely blow the doors off of Murray State in the previous episode. So a very crucial game here for Southeast Missouri State. They're going to need to bring their A game if they're going to beat this Eastern Kentucky squad. Playoff implications, and not only is there playoff implications on the line, there is also very much conference implications. And not to mention, how could I forget, this is actually the game of the week here in game number 9, and Lee Corso going to be rocking with the Eastern Kentucky Colonels. We'll see if Lee Corso is right or not, but this is not how you want to start a football game, though, as Coates puts the football on the ground, and it is going to be recovered by the Red Hawks of Southeast Missouri State. Great start for that football program, as that was actually the sophomore Joseph Lysiak, one of your guys' customs that got it loose. And now it sets up this offense, which Travis Johnson wants to get off to a better start. I'm actually shocked that was not a touchdown right there. I mean, thrown right on a rope. And they're going to mark him down at about the 1-yard line. Can they finish this drive, though? Johnson under center is going to be a goal line, first goal line. Mano y mano! And the Joshua Taylor willpower that a true freshman has. He's going to lead Southeast Missouri State onto the scoreboard. And those Red Hawks will take an early 10-0 lead, actually. A strong start for Southeast Missouri State as Eastern Kentucky tries to get itself going. How about Coates showing some cojones and throwing that into some traffic? I actually got no idea how he managed to get this down. Look at the number of guys in coverage. There was 3 to 4 bodies in there, but threw it perfectly, though. And now, sitting at about midfield, Rose, he's going to actually get loose in the secondary. Will Eastern Kentucky get on the board? That remains to be seen, as Kelly Russell, the sophomore custom, with the touchdown saving tackle. And now it's just a huge win by the Eastern Kentucky offensive line, able to get loose and goosey with it. And one of the best red zone teams in the country is this Eastern Kentucky squad. They know how to finish drives, and that is going to be no different here. So Eastern Kentucky, they will also be in their first points of this game. Had to fight for it, though. Joseph Lysiak, he's not going to be able to make that tackle, unfortunately. And now just a field goal lead. As Travis Johnson now going back to work. He's going to go throw to the right-hand side. He's got a man downfield. One-on-one coverage. Coming down with the catch, though. Oh, my. Big-time throw. And now Southeast Missouri State gets another opportunity in the red zone. They're 2 for 2 themselves. Having a good day. Travis looking over the middle, but it's going to be intercepted. Robbie O'Brien, the sophomore custom, is going to force just the 5th interception that Travis Johnson has thrown all year long. And O'Brien just doing a great job in coverage there, helping Eastern Kentucky out a little bit. But they will not be able to score any points off of that turnover. It's still just a field goal game, and that's not going to hold up that much longer. Johnson checking the one-on-one matchup, believed in his receiver, And that receiver returned the favor. The belief turning into yet another touchdown. Make that 17-7. And at this point, the Colonels just trying to get into the locker room real fast as we approach halftime currently, so that they can catch their breath a little bit. But they made a big mistake here. They got it out to Lonnie Scott, but he puts the ball on the ground though, and Eastern Kentucky recovers it. Is that Robbie O'Brien? Yes, it is. Another turnover for this sophomore linebacker. Playing everywhere today. He's playing out on the defense. He's doing things in special teams. And unlike Southeast Missouri State's first turnover, this one will actually make them pay for it. That's a touchdown for the Colonels. And Eastern Kentucky, that number 6 team in the nation, they're right back into this game. They will actually try to go for the lead. They got 1 second left. They got nothing to lose. So they do try a quick Hail Mary to see if they can get anything to bite downfield. Maybe cause a penalty of some sorts. But Kentrill played solid foundational defense. Gonna be able to deflect that away. And that's what the score is, 17-14 at the half. Still a tight game after 1 half of play. But then in the second half, Southeast Missouri State looking to go off here. A 63-yard touchdown for Travis Johnson. Able to set his feet. He had nobody around him either. When you roll him out like that, that is when Travis Johnson can be extremely dangerous, and so can this defense. I talked about how great this defense was last year, one of the best defenses in the country. And while this defense is not playing at the same level yet this year, a lot of the starters from last year's team is still on this defense. They can still play for sure, but can their offense provide a little bit of help put this game away? 4th and 7, looking towards the left-hand side, and on the 4th down, it gets intercepted. Just had to throw it up there, but not a high percentage throw whatsoever. And so Eastern Kentucky, they will go ahead and take over at the 39-yard line, but they can't finish the drive once again. They'll have to punt the football away once more. Back into the hands of Lonnie Scott. Do they kick away from him? It looks like they didn't really try to do that as Lonnie Scott fields the punt. He's down the sideline. He's at the 50, the 30, the 10. He is gone. Touchdown, Southeast Missouri State. And how about that? The end of third quarter. A huge lead for the Red Hawks. And a lead that could just get a little bit bigger. That's even with this Red Hawks team being a little bit sloppy. They turned the ball over 3 times themselves. And yet, in spite of that, they have been able to win the turnover battle. I don't know how they managed to accomplish this. Your guess is as good as mine. But that being said, Southeast Missouri State, they do recover. Big win for this program. They're going to win by a final score of 31-14. It's a very convincing victory, and it's exactly the kind of victory that they needed in order to get back on track as they are trying to get back to the FCS playoffs once again. Eastern Kentucky, though, this is going to be their second loss of the season. I believe their first or second one in conference play. I actually do not remember, but total yards playing the biggest difference in this one. But to round out this episode, though, we got to have a little bit of rivalry game action. Back at it again with the White Vans. We are back in the Big Sky Conference as the number 4 ranked Portland State Vikings. They go and host Eastern Washington, who's having a decent season. But if Eastern Washington at this point wants to make it to the playoffs, also in a similar spot as Eastern Illinois, they will need to win their conference. It starts with this game right here, and it starts with finding a way to contain quarterback Carl Pierre, who's having a great year so far. 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's been a very stabilizing force. You know, Kyle Hardy, he's a solid quarterback. He's the backup for Portland State. But at the same time, you know, you want a little bit of that veteran presence. And, you know, Pierre does that, man. He does some really good stuff for this team. And now we go ahead and see this team go to work Except Portland State does not get off to the start that you typically see them do, as Carl J. Fousen, he's actually a freshman custom, actually a junior custom. He was built during the year one off season. Carl Fousen able to toss that into the end zone. So 7-0 lead here early for Eastern Washington. Could be a very intriguing game after all, as Fousen's going to attack downfield, and his guy is going to come down and make the catch. You know, Fousen hasn't really lived up to those collegiate expectations, but having a decent game. He's still shown as a 3-year starter that he's capable of getting the job done, as Fousen will throw it on a 2nd and goal. Just bamboozles the entire defense of Portland State. I mean, everyone on the Vikings stadium in the Vikings defense, they were all inspecting the run. That did not happen. So Portland State down 14-0 here early, but we do get a big run here down the right-hand side, as Marvin Douglas able to get a huge boost down the sideline. 1st and goal going to be coming up here now, and we'll see Portland State, they finally get their first goal line opportunity. Ballhawk Woods, the sophomore custom, had the chance to make the tackle, but he was not successful, unfortunately. We'll see if this Eagles defense tightens up here. Pierre looks to the left-hand side and frozen into the end zone. Touchdown, Portland State, and the Vikings, they cut it back to a 1-score game and a chance for them to tie it later on. Pierre goes over the left-hand side and throws a nice dot. And back in Eastern Washington territory, might be sitting on the edge of field goal range as well. We'll see if they do with it. 33 seconds left into the half. Pierre facing some pressure, throws it up middle of the field. I think he was going for his running back, Marvin Douglas, who was running a go route down the middle of the field, but because of that pressure that Eastern Washington was able to apply, he was not able to get everything on this football. And Eastern Washington, they're going to take advantage, get the interception. So that takes us into halftime. 14-7 was your score. A very competitive game. But in the second half, it just gets sloppier for Portland State now. We see a big-time turnover there inside the 20-yard line. Really just not characteristic throws that Pierre would typically make. And that's the second time in the game that this has happened. So now Eastern Washington, they have a chance to make this a 2-score game. Now, it's not a guarantee. They have only scored on 60% of red zone possessions. That is one of the lowest in the FCS. That's why they're 3-3 as Fousen. We see the red zone lows continue, as Fousen did not see that defensive lineman drop back into coverage, and that's going to cost Eastern Washington. So Portland State, they turn the football over deep in their own territory. A really critical moment for Eastern Washington to extend the lead, but it's still a 1-score game. None of the less, although it might not be for long, though. Trying to target Marvin Douglas. Linebacker reads it like a book and takes it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown, Eastern Washington, as Pierre was just eyeing his running back just a little bit too long. In a 21-7 lead going into the fourth quarter as well. Now, this fourth quarter might get a little bit spicy. You know, rivalry games, you never know what can happen, as Fousen throws an interception himself. Does either team want to win this game? You let me know down in that comments section. But yeah, just a sloppy game by both squads right now, as Pierre does finish the drive this time around. Marvin Douglas will be able to punch it in. It's back to being a 1-score game. 2 minutes left to play. That's a lot of football left to be played, no doubt about it. But Eastern Washington, they just got to get a couple of first downs, and this game is over. Fousen looking over the left-hand side, and that's intercepted as well. They're trying to give the game to Portland State. What is actually going on right now? Oh, just some really untimely decisions right now by Eastern Washington, and it's really costing them right now in this moment. Just very bad decisions that are being made. Now, you know, luckily for Eastern Washington, they're still going to hold on and win this game. Portland State, they go 3-and-out. They try to get the football back because it was such a long, but Portland State, surprisingly, they are actually going to take their very first loss of the season into Eastern Washington. So now the Eagles, they're in shouting range of first place in the Pac-10, which would be critical for them to get to the FCS playoffs for the first time in this series. So definitely something to watch out for in the future. But now we see the sun set, but we still have great action happening around the FCS Dynasty. We check in on the free 30 o'clock games and see what's happened here in week number 9. And Tennessee Tech is going to remain in the top 25 thanks to a 35-26 win over their bitter rivals in Jacksonville State, boosting Tennessee Tech up to 5-1. As for Eastern Michigan, they will actually suffer their very first loss of the entire season. They will lose 31-28, and it begs the question, do the Ohio Bobcats sneak into the top 25? Well, stay tuned later in this episode. As for Villanova, they also are going to pull a shocking victory over the SMU Mustangs. Villanova wins 28-27, and SMU is going to drop their second game of the season. As for Nicholls State, they are going to be able to get their second win of the entire season, and they do so by blowing out Florida International. Nicholls State is going to win 42-7 to boost themselves up to 2-4, but will likely need to win out if they want to make the FCS playoffs for the very first time. Florida Atlantic, meanwhile, is looking to try to find a way to sneak themselves into the top 25. This will certainly help their resume as they get a 45-7 victory over Arkansas State. Sacramento State was also in action today. They took on Montana State. The Bobcats, however, almost pulled a second top 25 win in a row, but they will fall just short. Montana State losing 35-27, and Sacramento State will improve to 6-1. Also looking to improve their FCS playoff prospects is Northern Arizona, and taking care of the business on the road certainly helps in that. Northern Arizona wins 31-0, and the Lumberjacks are now 5-1 here in year number 4. But guys, as you can see, there was a lot of things going on here in week number 9, so I actually did decide to split it up into 2 different episodes. So today you saw some of the afternoon, early evening games that did appear in that week 9 slate of matchups, but then we go into the night games in the next episode. We got a few good ones there as well that I think you'll enjoy. And then not only all of that, but we're also going to go over the AP Top 25 poll, the Heisman Trophy race, what's going on there, as well as who ended up winning NCAA Player of the Week here in week number 9 here in this FCS Dynasty. So next episode, we will be wrapping up week number 9 action. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed today's content. And if you did, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is John J. Gaming on the mic signing off. But I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.